Meredith Tucker is the casting director behind Defending Jacob, the new Apple TV Plus limited series that features Chris Evans, Michelle Dockery, and a whole bunch of other great actors. I'm Kevin Jacobsen of Gold Derby, here to ask you, Meredith. I know that Chris Evans was also an executive producer on the series. So was he actually attached to the project from the jump, even before you started doing the casting, or did you have a hand in having him be the lead here?
No, he was attached before I was involved, so can't take any credit for him. But yeah.
So had you actually read the Defending Jacob novel to get a stronger sense of just the characters involved?
No, in fact, I hadn't, and I avoided reading it just because because there was going to be some changes to the story, and I didn't want to sort of have that in my mind and, sort of already established, sort of feelings towards characters. I wanted to sort of use the script much more as my sort of jumping off point as opposed to the book.
Mm-hmm. And so how did you actually become involved with the series?
Well, I actually am an old college friend old college friends with Mark Bombeck, who I hadn't seen him, who was, the creator and showrunner. And I hadn't seen him in a while, but sort of got a call slightly out of the blue just saying, hey, would you like to be part of this? And, I read the first episode and just thought it was fantastic. I mean, he really has, draws really amazing characters, such a great sense of place, having it set in Newton, and just sort of the sort of juxtaposition between, sort of the classes in that area and just societal differences. I was really taken with it immediately. And then literally every time we got a new draft, a new script, I sort of would quit whatever I was doing and just read it immediately, just because it is, it is quite the page turner, literally. And my office, we would just be done. Like, can you believe that happened? So the scripts are really wonderful. That was sort of, and Mark's a wonderful guy too, but he really is a talented and wonderful guy. So it was a real honor to get to be part of it.
Yeah, it's a good binge watch, I will say that.
Yeah.
And so Michelle Dockery, she's done a variety of different projects lately, obviously Downton Abbey, but then, something like Good Behavior and Godless. So what was it about Michelle that made her make sense for playing Laurie?
Well, she really is. I mean, for someone who was on such a huge show initially with Downton Abbey, and then Godless, I just thought was so brilliantly done, and it's such a different character. And then when you see her on a talk show, she is just not at all, what she plays. I mean, she really is a chameleon, and we just needed someone. Obviously, we wanted someone around Chris's age who had both. You would buy that she would sort of be the strong, sort of mother, and then just sort of be able to sort of unravel a little bit, and so sympathize with her just because I've spent the last week watching it, and I just thought her performance was really brilliant. I just, and you're with her every step of the way, how she is feeling towards her son, towards her husband. I thought she was tremendous.
Yeah.
I've been a big fan of hers for a while, and it's the first opportunity I've gotten to work on something that she's part of. So that was really neat.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we also have Jaden Martell playing Jacob, who is accused of murdering his classmate, and I think that is such a tricky part to play. And coincidentally enough, he was in Knives Out last year with Chris Evans.
Yeah.
So what went into casting Jaden for that part?
Well, I was in New York, so we were seeing kids live in New York, but then we sort of did essentially a nationwide search. And obviously, Jaden's known from It and St. Vincent, and I'd been a big fan of his for a while. And he blew everyone away. His self-tape was just, for what could have been a very sort of drawn out, hard process, he made it very easy because it was very clear that he was, perfect for the role. He has, all the vulnerability, and he's, you believe him that he could have done it. He just has all the ambiguity. He's a tremendous, tremendous actor. He's so, and, obviously has had leads in films before. So, we knew we could, it would rest well on his shoulders. But he just, he kind of blew me away. I just thought he was tremendous. And we kind of, we were sort of making this decision right before he shooted Knives Out, and I think Chris and he met on, and said, "Hey, we're going to do this." So I think it sort of all happened around the same time. But what could have, because kid searches are always a little complicated and can be quite time consuming. But we actually really. It was just very clear from his initial audition that he was the guy for the part. So
yeah, he's pretty phenomenal on the show, I will say. So, obviously there's more to casting than just the individual roles. You also have to think about how the cast works in scenes with each other. So can you tell us about the process as far as that core three at the center of Chris and Michelle and Jaden, having them feel like a family?
Yeah, they really do. And no, they didn't. We didn't have any chemistry reads or anything like that. But you could just, it's, there is something ineffable about it. But in watching it, you really do buy them from a family, as a family. I think the material was so strong that it sort of made that, the chemistry between them a little easier, just because it's written so well and the family is so, this is, essentially, it's a family story, with the backdrop of a legal drama and like thriller, but it is about a family and what you will do for your family. Can you trust your family? So the writing really lent it, it made that sort of next step much easier.
And beyond that core three, there's even more great actors in the ensemble, like Cherry Jones, Betty Gabriel, Pablo Schreiber, J.K. Simmons, Academy Award winner J.K. Simmons, that is. And it's interesting because once you see the show, I feel like you can't really imagine anyone else in those parts. But was that a tricky process to find those kinds of great character actors, or did you just know who you wanted from the start?
Well, no, it was a process. In the book, Cherry's character is an older Jewish guy, so we sort of went down that road a little bit. We were thinking, perhaps we should, make it a diverse, go with that role. But then, as Mark and Morton thought more and more, they thought, having a woman would just add a different element to it, and sort of also, especially in the courtroom, when you have Pablo's character, Chris, and then it would be nice to have a woman as well, because we would have a male judge. It just we thought it would add. And Cherry, I'm lucky that I had a lot of producers who are sort of rabid theater goers. So the fact that they got to work with, probably one of the preeminent, theater actresses, on stage today, everyone was very excited to have Cherry. And with Pablo, he actually, we just went through the whole casting process and then ultimately we're just like, hey, it brought his name up, and it really was the right fit. We needed someone who could go sort of head to head with Chris. You could see it at one point was his sort of protege, but then his sort of now is his rival. And, just because Pablo's stature is so, we didn't want anyone, because at one point, Chris, they do actually get in a physical altercation, and we didn't want it, anything to seem like Chris was, Chris's character was picking on him. So it was very, and again, just intellectually and sort of being able to go head to head with him, that was really important. And then Betty, again, that part was originally Betty's character. It was Paul Duffy, and it was a man. And Mark and Morton thought, hey, let's make it a woman. And Betty had actually worked with Morton on the one that J.K. was also in it. Oh shoot, what is it called? I've forgotten the name of the show, but they had worked together. So that was Morton's idea, and she's just, she's tremendous. She's just, brings so much to that role, and you can see that, some of the scenes I'd read them a bunch, and just hearing them, the final performance is always kind of exciting, and see what the end result is after you know the scene very well. And she just, I just thought she was tremendous. So.
Yeah, I believe the show you were thinking of is Counterpart.
Counterpart, thank you.
Yes, no problem. There's also so many great teen actors here. Does anything change for you when it comes to, casting younger actors like that, or is your process more or less the same with each role?
Not the same. The thing that I've noticed, with the kid stuff I've done lately is, Jaden was, I think, turned 16 right before we started, but just still looks so young. And it was really important. These were 8th graders, so they're 14 years old. And we really, I find it just, when you can cast people, especially teen actors, as close to their actual age as you can, it just makes it all the more, it just gives it sort of a different, I just think it's better. I worked on 8th grade, and although I didn't, have anything to do with Elsie Fisher getting cast, it's just, she's a 14-year-old playing a 14-year-old. Jordan Alexa Davis, it was, I think, 15. Ben, who plays Derek Yu, I think was 15 or 16. It just makes it the reality is just so much more, it just has, it's a different energy. They're not acting as much. They can be themselves. They don't have to act younger. And I just think you get a much more truthful performance as much as you can with, with those kids. And the other kid, Hale Lytle, who plays the Matt McGrath character, initially we were, he was 17, and we just, even though, just with the labor laws and stuff, we were hoping to get an 18-year-old, but he just was so, again, he's a 17-year-old playing a 17-year-old. And I just think, you can't, there's just, as good of an older actor could have been, it just, the reality and people playing them their own age, I just think it's the better way to go in general.
Yeah, it makes a world of difference, I will say. So you have won 3 Emmys for your work on Boardwalk Empire and Veep and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. You're also nominated for Entourage. Since we're an awards website, can you just tell us a little more about, getting all that recognition over the years for your work?
Luck, I gotta say, it really is. And I've been lucky that all those things that I actually, all the ones I won, I've actually shared with other people. Like Ellen Lewis and I shared the Boardwalk one. Allison Jones, and Pat Moran, I shared with the Deep, and Jeannie Backrack and Cindy Tolan I shared, and it's just a large part had to do with especially with Beep, because I was really just sort of the third, person. on that. But it's it's fun. It's a little scary, the first time especially. I haven't really, since the first one, that's the last time I actually sort of spoke up there. But it's there's so many wonderful shows that get overlooked. It's just, especially now, because there's so much scripted television. So I frequently, a lot of shows that I really love the people don't get the recognition that I think they deserve. So I don't like to put too much, sort of pressure, or sort of too much whatever onto them, just because they're like The Americans was never nominated for an Emmy, and that was like one of the most brilliant shows ever. It's just so I just it's fun, but it's fun. It's fun, and it's great to be recognized. It really is. It's by your peers, and get to dress up. So
yeah, not so bad. So, I mean, what has it been like for you to just watch someone like, Rachel Brosnahan, for example, rise so much in prominence in the industry, winning awards left and right, seeing Tony Shalhoub and Alex Borstein win Emmys, Luke Kirby, Jane Lynch. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel just has been so celebrated as an ensemble. And
yeah. I mean, Jeannie, I did the pilot with Jeannie, and I only did the pilot, and she really had a tremendous amount, especially with the core leads. So a lot of big hats off to her for that. It's great. I mean, it's a wonderful show. I mean, Rachel's one of those people that I tried to hire her many times on Boardwalk. She was like our sort of runner-up multiple times, and so for her, I mean, she's such a lovely person. Luke Kirby is someone I've been wanting to cast forever, and the fact that he just was so great in his audition, and I remember Amy saying, like seeing him, she sort of like thought about the character in a slightly different way, and just like he could be like her her fairy godfather. Isn't this great? And so it's fun when you have an actor that it actually changes how the narrative is gonna unfold in on a show. That's always exciting. Like on Boardwalk, like the Jack Houston character was supposed to be like on 3 episodes, and they ended up making him a series regular just because they fell in love with his character so much. So that's always fun and exciting, and I'm going a little bit divergent, but it's it's tremendous, and it's ongoing, and it's great to have it's shot here with all these great New York, stage and theater actors. And it's, I mean, the casts every episode are pretty massive. And it's, Cindy does an amazing job with the series casting. So.
You've been part of some really great shows over the years, and this Defending Jacob's another good one. So congrats on that. I want to thank you for talking to us today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah. And for those watching, hit like and subscribe for more interviews just like this, and head over to goldderby.com to make your predictions.